The following program does not have a normal intro because I was really too busy smoothing other things over to get it done. So, sorry. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program. I'm your host, Joe Neerman, aka Good Lawgic. Yes, a late starting time tonight. Very late. Very late. I'm on time for my lateness, like pretty on time, like almost as on time as you could ever hope for me to be. Being realistic. I mean, with starting within 90 seconds of my start time. That's like early. That's early. So yeah, that part was good. The late start time is because I really wasn't even sure if I wanted to do this show or not. I was like, I was thinking about covering the Trump mistrial motion, just to give you some, like, the process. I'm scanning and I'm leafing through social media and stuff like that. And literally, it's like just Middle East. And I was like, I saw this debate and I was like, that's interesting. All right. I really don't want to do this. And then I was like, I felt guilty, like going into the weekend and not doing a show. And this does look interesting. So I'm like, I'm gonna hate myself in the morning. This is like when a year ago during the summer when I had a guy who was I had Let's Go Brandon who was plying me with alcohol, and I was like, oh my god, don't make me do this. But he was like paying me like $200 a shot, and I'm like, okay, and another one. What am I gonna do? So that's what I feel like I'm like with the Middle East now. It's like, please. And I was going to talk Trump, and some people are like, no more Trump. So it was basically, that's all there is in my social media feed. I'm not kidding. Middle East and Trump. And I was just like, I'm going to tell you right now, I was going to cover his mistrial motion. Robert Gouveia did such a bang up job on it. I was just like, no, he's awesome. What am I really going to add that much onto what he did? No. And when I put it out into the ether, I want it to be new and original and not just like a rebranded take on that. So I highly recommend you check that out. Like, I highly recommend. He does great work. I can't compliment him enough. Whatever compliments I give are completely insufficient. Amazing work. So yeah. That doesn't mean I'm never going to be covering Trump stuff, and it doesn't mean I'm never going to be covering stuff that he covers. Sometimes I have a different angle than what he has, or a slightly different angle. But the way he's been covering these motions, and I don't really love reading through motions anyway. So, K-Vel, somehow they claim you're a new member, but I know that's a lie. I know you know that the following is very much not a cult type of cult. I know you're fully aware of the fact that I am not the leader of the following. I'm just a follower, just like the rest of you. But I welcome you to the following, and I hope for you greater community, unity, and strength and personal growth. I am doing a short show tonight. I'm finishing this up on locals. That was the way I sort of salved my regret over actually covering this. Was I was like, you know what? Let me remind people that locals is there. And I got such wonderful supporters on locals. You guys are amazing. Really, really great. So that's why I was like, I think I'm gonna just like parse over there at a certain point. So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna start here. If you like it, you want to join me over there, great, awesome. If you don't want to join me over there, I take no offense. Seriously, no offense. I think it's the best way to do this. It is an hour and 8 long minute, and it just dropped today. It's very fiery, like very fiery. You're gonna enjoy it, I think. Let's get started. I've hyped this enough. Let's get it started. I've only watched the first 5 minutes, but the first 5 minutes was a lot of it got me mad. Not gonna kid you. A lot of it got me mad. And I'll tell you when I start getting mad with how things are going. I was thinking about a squirrel with handcuffs. A lot of people think about squirrels with handcuffs. I never have until you actually just wrote it just like that. And now I'm trying to picture the little handcuffs on his squirrel feet. And I'm still not understanding why I'm picturing this, but I thank you for sharing that. You don't protest too much. It's a culty cult. No, it's not a culty cult. It's very much not a culty cult. I take umbrage, I say, with those who call it a culty cult. Can we get started here with Piers Morgan? He looks confused, and he doesn't like being frozen like this.
Tonight on Piers Morgan Uncensored, Israel at war, the uncensored debate. Mohammed Hijab is a Muslim philosopher, scholar, and YouTuber whose first appearance on the show was viewed by more than 8 million people. Rabbi Shmuley Boteach has been called the most famous rabbi in America.
He actually is pretty famous. It's actually pronounced Boteach. Like his original name is Boteach, which means trust. It's a very Israeli type of name, even though I'm pretty sure he's American.
National best-selling author of Kosher Hate and The Israel Warrior. Both men are passionate. Both men are influential.
5-star show.
Vehemently opposing views. Tonight, they go uncensored and head-to-head. We're bringing together two very opinionated, passionate...
One of us. It's not a cult. I don't know what you're talking about.
Influential people, very opposing views, and we're going to have a proper debate, and we're going to see if somewhere there is perhaps more that we can agree on than we first imagined. So thank you for joining me, gentlemen. We tossed a coin before we came on air tonight, and actually you won the toss, and you said you want to go second.
I defer to my brother.
And the way this will work, Mohammed, we have 4 sections of this debate, and at the start of each one, you'll both get 1 minute uninterrupted to say what you want to say about each of the themed titles of each block. So you go first, and at the end of your minute, you'll hear a sound, and when you hear that, you end, and then Rabbi Shmuley gets his chance to speak.
The sound is...
So the first thing
that's the sound.
is a simple one. Are Hamas to blame? You have a minute, Mohammed, from now.
From one perspective, Hamas started the battle because obviously from October 7th, even they themselves title it Tufan al-Aqsa or the flooding of Al-Aqsa. But from another perspective, if you really look at it from an international law perspective, we're talking about 1967, we're talking about Security Resolution 242, in which it is actually stated that Israel is in a belligerent state because they're occupying the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and Gaza.
Yeah, but the UN is really dictated by Russia and like 30 Arab nations who all hate Israel. So that's why, look, a lot of you might not realize, I rarely talk about the UN. And the reason I rarely talk about the UN is because I feel like they're so obsolete. It is such an obsolete non-entity that I always, in my brain, I just sort of assume that just much like Amnesty International is something that's a joke organization, so is the UN. They don't pass laws. They pass resolutions, which basically means that they'll gather together a whole bunch of Arab nations, and that's why, you know, Israel's been censured like, I don't know, 100-1 compared to like the worst, most abusive countries on earth. And that's because in a way of picking a fight with America, Russia would constantly join in censuring and pushing repeated Israeli censure. So much so that it's just like, all right, this is just stupid. Like, who cares? Really, who cares? The other one who cares at all is Hillel Neuer, who sits in on the UN and actually has a seat there, and basically rails against the human rights abuses that happen everywhere. And they'll literally will take like a traffic infraction by Israel. Not that they never had committed any wrong. Of course, Israel has, like any country, but it's like any traffic infraction, they'll start issuing censure after censure, compared to like, you know, like just women being like, you know, beheaded for infidelity, that they're like, oh yeah, they have to totally look the other way. So do not pick on my squirrels. Cult brutality. Adrian. There is no reason to handcuff them. Just hand them a walnut and their hands will be occupied. Squirrels are cute. See how easy it is to take a rat and make it look cute. Just give it a furry tail and little feet and a bit of a neck. And all of a sudden, it's like a whole different creature. I think I might have took Adrian off more.
And there have been, so therefore the war has been continual for a very long time according to international law. But let's remove Hamas.
But international law is such a strange term to me. It's such a strange, the whole concept. I understand they had the Geneva Convention, and the concept of the Geneva Convention is we need to pass some sort of regulations as to how countries are going to interact with each other, just so that we can sort of figure out what is appropriate, civilized, and I guess that if we ever go to war with each other, we're starting with the understanding of like, okay, this is a line you don't cross. This is what's considered appropriate versus inappropriate, and that hopefully those two combatants engaging in battle, if they observe that line, so no one's gonna be like, get hit with mustard gas, like that sort of thing. So, but as far as like, just international law in general, the concept is kind of, I mean, look, obviously it's going to have individuals have fights with other nations, but when you have governments that are sovereign unto themselves rather than individuals, I'm not talking about when you have an American versus a French guy or a Chinese guy versus somebody from Turkey. I'm talking about governments themselves. When you talk about international law, I don't even know what that means. I do think that Israel tries to comply with what is regarded generally as international law. I'm just saying, I'm like, you call international law. I don't know. I certainly have zero respect for the UN. I mean, zero respect for the UN. I think they're a joke. It should be abolished.
Hamas from the situation altogether. Let's remove them. What do you have? You have the West Bank. And what do you have in the West Bank? You have 187 children who have been put in prisons. They have been put in prisons, according to B'Tselem, without charge.
Okay, I want to point this out. Okay. This is about the whole. They talk a lot about children. This is a constant thing about Muslim children, and a lot of them are young. There's no question. A lot of them are young. A lot of their combatants are very young. They basically start training them from the time they're 3 years old to like pick up a rifle and try and kill Israelis. That doesn't mean they send them out into battle at 3. They usually wait till they're like till they like basically turn like 13, 14. So they consider this. There are a lot of what we would call children who are not regarded as children by Muslims at all. They're regarded as adults, but in the Western stage, they're considered children because they're 16, 17. So, and that's what they call, children. So are they children? I mean, that's basically a sociology question. At what age is someone a child?
You have 44 children before October the 7th that have been killed before October the 7th in just 2023 alone.
Yeah, so what do you think? Do you think that they're actually just going in there and saying, let's kill the children? I mean, this is why I was comparing today. I was saying, like, Free Palestine is, I said ADL is basically like BLM. This is to me, it's the exact same thing. And he's going to talk about, I only watched the first 5 minutes. I know what I saw from the first 5 minutes is he starts railing about how many more Muslims have been killed than Jews, as if that's, and it's like, but who's the aggressor? Like it's like saying, like, like unarmed people, like when cops end up, why there's so many black people in prison. Is it because like our justice system is designed to try and throw black people in prison? That's the way everything is geared. That's essentially what I hear when he throws out these numbers, because there is a very disproportionate number of black people in prison. I mean, I don't think it's because I think the majority of Americans don't think, oh, that's because we're looking to find a way to throw black people in jail.
So if you remove Hamas from the equation, what you have the West Bank. You remove dominance from the equation, you have the West Bank, and what you have occupation, you have settlement, which you condemned, rightfully so. You condemned that on your show. The settlement's there.
Okay.
Cool. Well,
How much ready? 1 minute to respond.
Resolution 242 in the UN doesn't mention a single thing about aggression or aggressor. That is a total fabrication, and it speaks about disputed territories. But let's be clear. The occupier of Gaza is Hamas. They won an election in 2006, had a civil war with Mahmoud Abbas, took the Palestinian Authority officials, threw them off buildings, killed Muslims, killed Arabs. Mahmoud Abbas is afraid to go to Gaza. He's terrified of Hamas. He hasn't been there since 2007. And let's be clear, Hamas is an abomination to Islam. Sultan Salah al-Din, the greatest Muslim conqueror of all time, after whom the main artery in Gaza is named, he said that you have to allow all prisoners to be redeemed. He would never hold hostages. And remember, Islam is about fair treatment of prisoners of war. Hamas beheaded Thai non-Jewish workers. You asked your last appearance here for real.
He's basically praising Abbas compared to current Hamas leadership. I want to point this out. It's almost like there is an ongoing problem that both Israel and America have had for decades. I mean, going all the way back into the 40s, with trying to figure out which new regime, and it's not just in the Middle East. They have this problem all over the Middle East. They have it in South America also. Well, whenever they see a regime that they deem as hostile, and they basically try to help insurgents overcome that hostile agency, almost invariably, those insurgents who they fund later on become worse than the originals. And you start wondering, like, how much worse can they get? But I remember when Abbas was considered, public enemy number one to Israel. I'm just being real with you. That's not to say that he's and this is who, like, now that's how bad Hamas is today. That it's like, it's almost like we were in a frying pan, and that frying pan is sizzling, and everything is burning, and it's like we didn't realize that we're jumping into a fire with Hamas. Why is there a leprechaun commenting on Middle Eastern events? I was hoping to hear him tell me where my lucky charms were. He's not a leprechaun. I'm going to give you the chauffeur anyway, though, even though that was rude. I see what you're saying, though. I see what you're saying. It's the green eyes and the red hair. And
First-hand sources. I'm the first-hand source. I saw it in Kibbutz Alumim. They raped women. They had sex with dead women's bodies. They are evil, and do the right thing and call them evil.
All right, we've had a minute each. Okay, we've got a passionate start. Mohammed, let me ask you about Hamas.
I want to first, before you do that, I want to commend you, Piers, honestly, because bringing me on for the second time, I have to commend you. And the fact that you actually condemned the settlements is very good. But people want to know, do you think the IDF are a terrorist organization?
You're talking about settlements. There are 0 settlements in Gaza. 0. They were all removed in 2007. 0.
No.
You don't think they're a terrorist organization? Okay, well, if you look at the UN definition of terrorist organization, they say killing civilians for political
So you're
gain.
asking my opinion.
No, but if the UN definition, according to the UN definition, it's killing civilians for political objectives. Why are they not terrorist organizations?
Well, when you surround yourself, when you basically take your militants and surround them with children, and then you start crying that that children are killed, so that's the terrorist is the ones who are surrounding themselves and using them as human shields. I mean, literally hanging them from fences by their shirts as human shields, and you're saying, oh, you're looking to kill children. No one wants to see children die.
Well, you've asked me a straight question. I don't think they are terror.
So when you see babies like this, the ones who kill babies like this are not terrorists.
It's horrific.
So the people who kill babies like this are not terrorists.
Well, let me respond.
Yes.
Let me respond. We'll both,
not your turn.
You can both get into this. Here's my response to that. And I thought carefully about this. I'll be very honest about my own feelings. I have a real moral quandary about this because as a father, I hate these scenes of kids being killed in Gaza. It's horrific, right? We all know it's horrific.
But are they a terrorist organization, though?
I'm about to explain to you what I think my position is. My position is after what happened on October the 7th, it was so barbaric, so disgusting.
So you can kill children?
Well, no, what you can do.
That's exactly what terrorists say, by the way.
Let me answer your question.
This is not
exactly. You see, it's a false premise the way it's hanging up. No, you can go after them even if they surround themselves with children. That's the point. That's the point.
But this is someone else becoming the host of the show and now interviewing you. I thought we were being interviewed. Mohammed, you and I are being interviewed. You're not here to interview him.
You're going to have your chance.
Mohammed, you can put it down.
Don't make him lose control of his own show. You do this all the time. I'm not going to let it happen tonight.
All right, Rabbi, let me answer.
Please have respect for the
No. Stop interviewing the interviewer and be respectful. And be respectful.
Let me respond.
Tell me, sorry, is it a terrorist organization?
It is weird that it's like Piers feels an obligation to answer questions. The point is that they're supposed to be asked questions, not to be like asking questions. It's a clever objective by Hijab in that he's trying to try to make his point by having you answer the question, but it's framed in a way that's it's designed. It's basically like a question like, do you feel guilty when you do you feel guilty when you strangle babies? Yes or no? Yes or no? Do you feel guilty when you? That's just not what happens. Do you feel guilty that you have dreams about doing horrific acts? I don't have these dreams. But do you? So it's a yes or no. Do you feel guilty or not? It's a stupid thing, and that's the way this is being framed ultimately.
No.
I do not believe so.
They kill civilians for political objectives.
You have to let me answer.
Go ahead.
Okay. Here's my answer to that. When Hamas did what they did Two things. One, Hamas knew exactly what.
It's not. It's also not a political objective. It's a defensive objective. So even that is that. Even that part of the question is ridiculous.
Israel's response would be. They knew they would come incredibly hard back.
I don't absolve them.
Wait a minute. I'm not absolving it.
You don't absolve them. You're just reframing questions in a way designed to purposefully absolve them. You say you're not absolving them, but the nature of your framing is absolving them.
Anybody?
I'm not absolving them.
Okay.
You basically, what you're essentially saying is that if they do this horrific attacks, I'm not absolving them. But if they surround themselves with children, you can't do anything. Can't do anything. You're helpless. You can't. Oh no. It's like we're just gonna like shoot everyone up and surround ourselves with children. And, oh no, you can't. You what are you doing? You don't care about the children. How horrific are you?
Saying the West Bank is West Hamas.
I know.
West Hamas.
You have to let me answer.
You got 44 children killed like this in the West Bank.
This is ridiculous.
Wait a minute, Rabashwari. Let me just answer you quickly.
Go ahead.
I believe Israel has a right to defend itself from after that terror
But
attack.
can they kill children?
Wait a minute.
Can they?
Wait a minute. Particularly after the Hamas spokesman only last week said if they want to do this again and again and again. That's an existential threat to Israel.
Why don't they fight them man to man? Man to man. Fight them man to man. Why do you have to kill children?
Wait a minute.
Why do you have to kill
Let me
children?
answer you, Mohammed.
Why?
Let me answer
Of
you.
a ratio of 100 to 1, by the way.
Let me answer you.
100 to 1 ratio.
Let me answer you.
Go ahead.
Otherwise, it's pointless.
Go ahead.
So,
See, why do you
I
have to
agree
answer to
that
him?
Israel must defend itself. I agree
This is
they
so
have to
weird.
get rid of Hamas because Hamas is wedded to an ideology of existentially removing
Is
Israel.
this acceptable?
Wait a minute. I'm coming to your
Is this
answer.
acceptable?
I'm coming to your answer.
This is not.
This is not
unbelievable.
even a conversation.
Wait a
I'm sorry.
minute.
Listen, I came all the way from the
Rabbi
United
Shmuel, let me
States for this
finish.
debate.
Let me finish.
And he will not let anyone
me-
else speak.
let
And
me
if that's
finish.
how
It's
these
not your
shows
turn.
work,
Guys,
no.
guys,
you are rude. You
guys,
are a bully.
Rabbi
You just
Shmuel,
are trying to interrupt
it's
people.
fine.
I'm going to have a chance to speak,
Yes,
or
I'm
there's
going-
no point in doing this show.
Rabbi
He did this
Shmuel,
last time, and you allowed him to,
Rabbi
but
Shmuel,
I won't allow him to,
yes.
because I will never be bullied by a bully.
At the moment,
let me be clear.
wait a minute. No one's allowing me to answer your question.
Go ahead, sir.
And it's this.
Why are
I
you so
believe Israel
adamant?
has a right to defend itself.
Okay.
Why are you so adamant? You have to answer his question. I don't understand anything about what's happening here. Why do you have to answer a question, Piers? That's your role here?
I agree that they need to get rid of Hamas.
In this way?
Who are terror groups.
In this way?
Well, here's the quandary for me morally, right?
Why is
Here's
it a quandary, though?
I'll tell you why.
With Hamas, it's not a quandary.
I'll
but
tell
with
you
Israel,
why.
it's a quandary.
Because in war, when you declare war, as Britain did with the Nazis,
100 to 1 ratio.
No,
100
of course,
to 1.
there are
Combatant to non-combatant
there are
ratio.
a far higher number of children in
By
Gaza.
the way, he talks about kill children, and then he says 100 to 1 as if all the people, the 100 to 1, that's 100 kids, which is definitely not the case. Not that there are definitely kids who are dying there, that's for sure. As someone that was in Iraq, I find that a Muslim not at all would ask about killing children. We had to deal with them using women and children as shields while taking pot shots at us. That's my point. Yes, K-Val, that is exactly my point. They use their own kids as shields and then sit there saying you're trying to butcher our children.
Gaza proportionate to population than almost anywhere in the world.
Piers,
so when they go
Piers,
after Hamas,
give me a chance.
very
Let's just-
sadly,
Piers,
Mohammed, let me
stop talking.
finish.
Stop talking.
Nobody treats Arab blood more cheaply than an Arab terrorist. Nobody. That's the reality. They keep sitting and screaming about Bibi and Israel. An Arab terrorist. I'm not saying Arabs. I'm not saying Palestinians. I'm not saying Arabs in general. Quite the contrary. Most Arabs, I think, love their children deeply in certain ways with far greater fervor than in many other cultures. I'm saying Arab terrorists. They treat Arab blood very cheaply, child or adult.
No.
Very sadly-
You are the one who insisted
Rabbi
on
Shmuel,
equal time. I never did,
Rabbi
but you will not
Shmuel,
respect equal
I will come
time.
to you
He's
literally
gonna
in
ask you
30
afterwards.
seconds.
He's going to ask you a
In
question.
30 seconds, I'll come to you.
He's going to come to you
Let
afterwards.
me finish, please. I am
Calm
in charge
down.
here, Mohammed. So my final point on this is, unfortunately, in war, civilians
100
get
to 1
killed.
ratio. 100 to 1 ratio.
Yes.
100
They
to 1 ratio.
Yes, they get killed.
No, not 100 to 1 ratio. It's an unacceptable
Civilians
ratio.
get killed.
It appears
What
this
is
way.
Really, in your country.
What is an acceptable ratio? If it was 6 to 1, you would say that's not, if it could be 1,000 to 1. Like it's such a ridiculous thing.
You know, Piers, can I say respectfully, and I mean this as no insult, I'm amazed that you're intimidated by this man. I feel, well, with all due respect,
he's not accepting the
if I
question.
can speak,
He brought me in the second time.
if I can
He
speak,
brought me in the second time.
I wouldn't bring him back if I was intimidated.
If I can speak.
And he raises a very valid question, by the way.
No, he does not, because I have
You brought him back because he got 8 million views. That's why, from having this show. That's why you brought him back.
Before he did this debate, he went on X on Twitter and said, I'm only doing it if there's equal time. And then he is violating that. I never asked for equal time. I just want to be heard. But he won't even let me be heard. Let me explain something to you. You said in a video the other day, and you can look me in the eye, you said that Jews are now trembling. Muhammad, I am not. No, don't interrupt me. I am not trembling. It's all on my Instagram page. Now, you see this yarmulke? It means that I represent something. I'm an ambassador. You're an ambassador of Islam. You are talking about a religion that started the world's first universities, educated women. Fatima started the first university in the 9th century in Fez, Morocco.
Irrelevant.
Now we have a man who says that he's a representative of Islam.
He's meant to be speaking to you, right?
He goes to Speaker's Corner. He speaks about whether 5-year-old girls are old enough for sex. He says that gay men are dying of AIDS as a punishment from God. And I'm sorry to have to say this to the listeners, that blood is gushing from their backsides. They're better off. You know what it is? Because you are desecrating a great world religion. Now, let me tell you why. Let me tell you why it's here. Because he will defend Hamas. I will.
Bring it back to the topic.
He will defend Hamas's butchery, savagery. He doesn't care that Hamas is an abomination to Islam because Islam.
But he hasn't done that.
The children in Gaza are dying because Hamas uses them as bulletproof vests.
Okay.
The United States and France and England said yesterday that the Al-Shifa hospital is a military base.
Okay.
It has a tiny veneer.
Let him have his minute.
It has a tiny veneer of emergency rooms.
Okay.
A minute.
But underneath all of it is a military base.
You have a minute.
And let me tell you something. If it's true that any of these countries care about the Muslims in Gaza because they believe what he's saying, that Israel's killing them, this is a map of all the countries that took place last week in Riyadh to save the Palestinians of Gaza from Israel. Do you know how many? That's Israel, a tiny thing. You know how many of them took in even one Palestinian from Gaza? Zero, nothing.
All right.
Look at that map. Because they want the Arabs want to see. The Arabs want to see Hamas. Don't intimidate me. Don't bully me.
Okay.
Don't intimidate me. I'm not afraid of you.
I've got to be able to ask questions. It's a debate.
Let's come back.
Let me ask you one specific question which he raised, which I don't think actually is your belief. I don't think you have defended what Hamas did on October the 7th.
Yeah, I haven't.
I think you share our
Are they evil?
Unless I'm wrong.
Are they evil?
About this
are they evil?
Are they
evil?
me or him?
Are they evil?
Rabbi Shmuley,
Hamas
you're now
evil.
doing what you accused him of doing. Let me ask you, what is your view of Hamas post-October 7th?
I think that they, just like anybody else, have to be examined. Have to look at all.
What
does that mean?
Yeah, I think that. Look, here's my.
What does that mean? They have to be examined. What do you have to examine? So they butchered 1,400 civilians. I think we have to examine.
Opinion. Let me be straightforward about this, right? Anybody who kills civilians, anybody, whether it's the IDF, I'm consistent in this manner. If it's proven beyond reasonable doubt that these people have killed civilians in both of our faith traditions, in Islam and Judaism, in the Quran is mentioned, in the Prophet, he said it himself, you cannot kill a woman, you cannot kill a child. I condemn them. That's what I do. Straight away, whether he's Muslim, whether he's non-Muslim, whether he's Christian or anybody else. I've already said that. So I'm not being inconsistent here. My question is, if that is exactly...
I told you it's fire. I told you. Where is there? Remember the Knights of St. John's looking for seasonal land? That's what we need. That's what we need. We need a third voice in here screaming. Deus. That's funny.
Exactly the barometer that we're using. If that's the moral reasoning that we're using, then we have to say, look, if you have a 100-to-1 ratio, and that's what it is, a 100-to-1 ratio. And you know how I got this figure? I got this figure from the IDF themselves because they have reported to
but let me ask you this.
And what do you think that is? Do you think that they're marching into schools and like saying, no, let's have class assembly? Why do you think that is? It's so ridiculous. The framing is such a joke.
Let me ask you this. Does Hamas deserve to stay in power after what they did?
I don't think we should have Hamas in power. What I think we should...
Okay.
No, let me tell you... We should have...
How do you get rid of them?
We should have a Palestinian Authority with bigger armies and airports with proper tanks and with airplanes like every country in the world.
You know what? You might be right. But
absolutely. They won't allow it.
How do you get
the Israelis won't allow that.
How do you get rid of Hamas?
What you don't do, I can tell you for a fact, is try and kill 30,000 of them with a 100-to-1 ratio.
You didn't answer the question. So fine, then how do you get rid of them? How do you get rid of them? How do you do it?
If you do that, then you're committing genocide because you'd have to kill 3 million Palestinians.
Rabbi Shmuley?
Do you even know the definition of genocide?
I haven't said genocide.
What's it? You just
of them with a 100-to-1 ratio because if you do that, then you're committing genocide because kill 30,000 of them with a 100-to-1 ratio because if you do that, then you're committing genocide because you'd have to kill 3 million Palestinians.
I said
if you.
What is it? Even know the definition of genocide?
I haven't said genocide.
What's it? You just said it.
I said if you.
What is the definition of genocide? What's the definition?
I said if you do.
You always claim to be an academic. You're always touting your Oxford credentials. What is the definition?
All right.
Of conditional?
You said conditional.
Genocide
If you
is
do
where
it, genocide is where you'll be genocidal.
Genocide is where you target an ethnicity for extinction. Ethnicity side murder.
Yes, if you do it. If you kill 3 million Palestinians, are you genocidal? If you kill 3 million Palestinians, are you genocidal?
There
are 1.8 million Muslim Arabs who live in total peace in Israel as equal citizens. In fact, Israel practiced reverse discrimination against the Jews because the Jews are conscripted to fight Hamas. So, if Israel, excuse me, no, you will not interrupt me. If Israel, you will not interrupt me.
And that's, by the way, a point that gets lost a lot. There are 1.8 million Israeli Arabs. Israeli Arabs, Muslims, living there, happy, equal rights, sitting as judges, how many Jews are living in Gaza? How many? It's pretty stupid to commit genocide against people you consider your own, like the Israeli Arabs.
Will not interrupt me. You will not interrupt. You will not bully me. You will not interrupt me. I am not afraid of you. Stop saying the Jews tremble. Now let me be clear. Let me be clear.
We're getting nowhere if you shout over each other.
Well, then you need to control your guests with all due respect. Okay.
Yeah, and by the way, this is spot on. This is lousy moderation. Lousy. Like he started with a great framework. He's just like, the cows are everywhere, and that's both of them. They're just everywhere.
He said
he
said equal time, and there's no equal time. Now,
there's no equal time.
If Israel was interested in a genocide of the Palestinians, why do they have 1.8 million equal Arab Muslim citizens who are in the Israeli Supreme Court, who are 1/3 of the medical profession? Do you know that an Arab judge put the president of Israel in jail for accused rape? That was Moshe Katsav. That's how little Israel is an apartheid state, genocidal state. This man sitting next to me, Mohammed Hijab, will not distinguish between self-defense when Hamas comes to brutalize and murder your people versus when an army like Britain, like France, stops, retaliates to simply protect their citizens. You don't believe the Jews should have a right to defend themselves? Say it outright then say it.
The Jews have the right to defend themselves.
They do.
Yes, they do.
So that's why we have to go.
Everybody has a right to defend themselves.
That's why we have to go into Gaza to stop Hamas.
Yes, they can go into Gaza and stop Hamas. No, they can't go in, but don't. No, hey, hold on. Let me tell you my position. Let me tell you my.
So they can go in. Thank God.
He asked me a question. Can I answer it? Yes, they can go into.
And by the way, I get this. If you're sitting here as an American, I can understand what you're saying. Like, I can't. I don't like either of these folks. I get that. Like, there's you need to. What I think you should just understand is these are both people. I think feel like they're arguing for their lives. And it's a different sort of thing. It's the same reason I don't like covering this. I told you, this is something that's like the passion becomes something that you can't really imagine, because this feels like you feel like your life is on the line.
Even Abu Ubaidah, the general of Hamas, he said, "Nahnu fi intidharikum" in Arabic. We are waiting for you. That's why he's being said. Hold on. You've asked me a question.
Go ahead.
They do have a right. What I've been advocating all along is face-to-face confrontation. What I'm against, hold on, excuse me. What I'm against is a 100-to-1 ratio, because if you have 100,
let me finish. Come to Mr. Block
all right. Okay, fine.
Hamas is hiding.
So who's refusing to come out and face off against the IDF? Who? He is. He's an effective emotional manipulator, but he is. You're correct. That's why, like, when just like the arguing tactics where he's just starts like taunting like a child and cutting him off while he's talking. It's about emotional manipulation and using and basically saying like, you know, feel the grief for the outcome without talking about how we reached this outcome, which is really what emotional manipulation is. Because anyone who's a human obviously feels terrible about children of any faith being killed. Like they're completely innocent. And they're basically, you know, caught in this squabble.
Under hospitals,
Okay.
what face-to-face confrontation? Hamas is shooting children who are going south.
I'm okay with face-to-face
Block
confrontation.
2
I like it.
Block 2 is
It's the honourable way.
Block 2 is exactly this question.
Go ahead, let's go.
My only observation,
He hasn't had
Rabbi
his minute.
Shmuley, so far, you're being more personal and ad hominem than he is.
With all
Right?
due respect, I think that's extremely unfair because
you are.
every time I say anything, no, listen.
And
if
you
Muhammad-
keep answering for him.
if
When in
Mah-
fact,
if
when you
Muhammad-
actually ask him questions,
because
he
he
gives
won't
you straight
answer.
answers.
If
But he
Muhammad,
didn't give
if
you straight
Muhammad
answers.
Hijab wants to be a representative and ambassador of Islam, then he has to take responsibility for his
I don't want to be
position.
any of that.
He actually said that
I
Islam
represent
believes in death. You're not
Okay.
going to beat us because we want to die. We're
All right.
prepared to lose thousands
Rabbi
of
Shmuley,
people.
we're
believe in
taking
Is
a break.
Islam really a religion of death?
We're
You are
taking
a
a break.
poor ambassador of your
Martyrdom,
faith.
martyrdom.
Hey.
You believe in martyrdom.
Of course.
All
I
Do
do.
you want to be a martyr?
I don't like what he's doing. I don't like the way that he's trying to make his point here now.
Yeah, absolutely.
You want to die
Martyr-
fighting
do you
the
know-
Jews?
I didn't say Jews. Who said Jews?
Okay,
Do you know
you
what
want to be a martyr where? What does it
Martyr
mean?
The
Martyr means someone who dies for his
Muhammad
faith.
told us, "Man qutila duna malihi fahuwa shaheed." Whoever dies defending themselves, defending their wealth,
Is that what you
a
want?
martyr. No.
Do you want to die
Excuse me.
defending
Excuse
Islam,
me.
or do you want Islam to be a religion of peace? Do you want it to be a religion
Hold
of
on.
peace?
This child
Let
for
him
us
answer.
is a martyr.
You're right.
Do you agree or not?
Because
Do you agree or not?
Hamas is
I don't think that's martyrdom. I don't think that's martyrdom. I think that they believe it's martyrdom. I know that they think it's martyrdom. I don't think that's martyrdom. I don't think so at all. And the reason I don't think that is because it's not designed to protect Islam. It's not designed to protect Islamic faith. Like it's really they're being used as a shield. That's not martyrdom. So it's basically saying because the martyrdom is coming because Hamas is refusing to do exactly what Hijab is saying that they should do and come out and fight face to face. Instead, they want to stand behind children. I'm assuming there was Jesus bled wine. Does that mean it was kosher wine? And what is kosher wine anyway? I need answers, Joe. I'll tell you. We don't drink blood. I never even heard that he bled wine. I heard he turned water into wine. I never heard he bled wine. Is that really true? Is that what Christianity teaches? That he bled wine?
just using him as a human shield.
Really?
He is, yes, Hamas is hiding behind him.
Let's
Correct.
go to the next section.
Condemn
All right.
Hamas.
It is, but I'll tell you, I agree with you. It is Jerry Springer, but there are little nuggets of information that come out here. But yeah, I don't like the way either of them are really combating.
All right, let's time out.
Really,
TV
come on,
video.
man. This
Let's
guy's
try
wasting my time.
not to talk over each other because the viewers can't hear it,
Okay,
right?
let's go
I don't
please.
mind the passion.
Sure.
I don't mind the debate. I don't mind the fire. I do mind if we can't hear what you're saying. It's pointless.
Yeah, let's do the minute
Let's
thing.
go to the second topic, right? This time,
Has he had his minute, by the way?
Rabbi Shmuley, you will go first with a minute.
See that
Say what you want to say,
childish thing?
and then
Has he had his minute yet? It's like his way of trying. That's his way of attempting to bully the argument. Like he's trying to like basically trivialize him. Even as initially, Shmuley was correct that he wasn't letting him speak, and he was trying to take over the interview by making Piers answer questions. And now, I don't really like the way Shmuley handled that response, but at the same time, he had his point at that point of it. He has gone to speak then, and he's like it's a little taunting type of. Has he had his minute yet? That's not good faith debate. That's trying to win points rather than actually engage in debate.
Mohammed,
what's the
Hijab, you'll
question,
get yours. So the theme is this, and the question is this for Block 2. Has Israel gone too far in its response to the October the 7th terror attacks? Okay, Rabbi Shmuley, you have a minute starting now.
I just came here by taxi and passed the statue of Winston Churchill. That's in the lifetime of our parents, okay? He is the greatest British statesman of the 20th century. You know what he did when he had a genocidal threat, knowing that Hitler wanted to eviscerate, annihilate Britain? He carpet bombed all of Germany, Dresden, Essen, Hamburg, Israel has not even gotten close to that. Israel does not send its Air Force to carpet bomb cities. It sends in its military. I have a friend who died, six children, 39, because he was personally trying to stop a Hamas terror tunnel. Israel is surgical. Israel is only going after the fighters. Israel has opened humanitarian corridors for the Palestinians to go south. Hamas shoots them and makes sure they don't go. Hamas builds its military structures. Right, Shifa Hospital is this much hospital, and it's this much military. They love using Palestinians. And that's why they've stolen their money. They got about $16 billion from the international community. There isn't one bomb shelter in Gaza. They don't care about the.
Okay.
That's an interesting point that I never thought of. Why don't they have any bomb shelters? Why wouldn't they have any bomb shelters? Every house in every apartment in Israel has a bomb shelter in it. Did you know that? If you've never been, every building I've ever been in Israel has a bomb shelter in it, because they understand that we are in a place where we are going to be at war. Why would you have zero bomb shelters? That's so weird. If you're so worried about your people, why wouldn't you have any bomb shelters? That's a phenomenal question, which really reflects the attitude of like, yeah, people are going to die, and that's okay. Which is what I really believe Hamas feels. That if their own people die, that's totally okay. That's totally okay. That's how that's the only logical way to interpret their action. Catholic thing, wine symbolizes the blood of Christ, is part of communion where we take the blood. Yeah, that's the wafer and the wine. I understand that. No, so I understand the concept of communion. I understand that's what it's supposed to represent. And but the question was framed as if the blood that came out of Jesus' body, according to Christian teachings, turns into wine. Is that part of the concept? I thought transubstantiation. Yeah, I actually know that word, believe it or not. That transubstantiation is that when you take a normal bottle of wine and have it in service, that Christians or Catholics believe that through the wine and the wafer that they ingest, it becomes the blood and the flesh. And that's what transubstantiation is. Not the opposite of that Jesus turns into something edible, but that the edible turns into Jesus. That makes sense. That's how I understood it. But I'm very curious whether or not that's what Catholics teach. I gotta ask. That's how I understand. That's how I could be wrong. I don't know. This debate is terrible. Joe, skip this one. It's not. I'm okay with this one. No, the Bible does not teach Jesus blood wine. Wine is metaphor for the shed blood of. Okay, so that's what I thought. That's how I understood it as well.
Civilians at all.
Okay.
Israel's doing the right thing.
Mohammed, you have a minute.
What I'm saying is the 100 to 1 ratio comes from the following figures. We know that 10,000.
It doesn't matter the figures. That's a result. How did we get to this result? It's such a childish thing. Like, he can keep throwing out this number because that's trying to use emotion to manipulate. But you have to analyze why are the numbers the way the numbers are? Why is that? You don't even refute the fact that they're using human shields. So you say that they have a right to get rid of Hamas. Here's a great question, and I'm just going to pause. We'll come back to this in a so. Think to yourself this, okay? You might have a lot of problems with Bibi Netanyahu. You might have problems with Israel and say the way they're doing things. Start with this premise. Let's assume that Israel has a right to exist. And if you start with that premise, and part of its existence is defending its own civilians, now you have a problem with this numbers, which he claims is 100 to 1. I don't know if it's quite that high, but I'm sure that there's definitely a lot more Arab blood that's been spilled than Jewish blood. So ask yourself this question. If we start the first two premises and we come to the third premise that we don't want Palestinians who are not combatants and not engaged in any type of war, we don't want them to die. So ask yourself this: what would you do differently? What would you suggest that they do differently? That's designed to actually protect themselves, protect their borders, protect their own civilians from dying, short of folding up and saying, "Oh, okay, you take the country." Like, what would you suggest that they do differently to do better, to be more human? Because if you think you're more humanitarian than the state of Israel, maybe you are. What's your suggestion? They should do it this way. And everyone's screaming for a ceasefire. It basically ignores the fact that Hamas announced as recent last week that, yeah, we plan on doing this a lot more. So is that protecting your civilians? If you say, oh, okay, the people, whole bunch of blue hairs in America are screaming for us to cease fire. So they're going to come back in a few months, but we're just going to totally leave Hamas there. Many of those blue hairs, unfortunately, are Jews themselves. So you really need to come up with an answer. If you want to say this is, if you think they're doing something wrong, and maybe you can come up with something better. It's not a facetious question. If you have a better answer, that this is how they should handle it better, that would still keep the first two objectives of you actually still retain your country and your civilians are not exposed to basically getting butchered the next time, you know, a couple months down the road from now. Tell me what your answer is. I'd love to hear it. War is cruelty. There's no reason to perform it. The crueler it is, the sooner we over. Jenner William Tecumseh Sherman, and he would have known. Well, he was pretty cruel. He was, yeah. William Tecumseh Sherman and his Sherman's march down to Atlanta. He was pretty cruel. 100 robbers, DE to cops, then cops to robbers. Yeah, that's true too.
Civilians have died. Of them, according to the IDF, as reported by The Guardian, 60, dozens, they say, about 60 Hamas died, which we're being liberal by saying 100 to 1 figures. For every one Hamas, you have to kill 100 civilians. That's effectively what we're saying. If the trajectory continues as it is...
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I don't know what that
trajectory continues as it is, then you have to kill 3 million Palestinian civilians in order to kill 30,000 Hamas fighters. If you want to extinguish them...
That's not true. Well, how do you now you're just making up statistics now. Why? How do you know how many Hamas there are?
Eviscerate them, annihilate them, destroy them. You have to do that. Now you have Herzog, who is the president that you interviewed, saying that all Palestinians, they are responsible. This man is being more slippery. He's being more slippery than the lubricants that he sells in his daughter's sex shop. And that...
What the heck is wrong with you? What is wrong with you?
That's the reality of the situation.
Did you really just say that? You know, you seem obsessed.
That is bizarre. This thing is taking like bizarre turns.
With Jewish sex, it's bizarre. Yesterday, you actually spoke about Ben Shapiro's wife.
Yes,
you
I did.
actually you said
Yes,
to Ben
I did.
Shapiro,
Yes, I did.
your wife's a carrot. Well, you're more of a man. Is that what you're trying to
Yes,
say?
I did.
All right. Then you said that Jews have BDSM. You're speaking about sexual lubricants while people are dying. You know, Muhammad, get your head out of the Jewish bedroom. It's really bizarre.
Can we get it?
Let me be clear.
No.
Sexual lubricants? How embarrassing.
What is happening here? What is happening?
Sell dildos.
Can we get it back?
Sell dildos.
Can we get it back to the
sell
topic?
dildos.
You speak about 5-year-old girls being ready for sex.
come on,
Listen, let's go back. Let's go back to the issue. Let's go back to the issue. Let's go back to the issue.
Let me ask a question.
Why are you shaking? I've got a
Mohammed,
vibrator in your pocket.
come on, it's a serious
I think he's got one of his daughter's vibrators.
Come on, leave it, please.
You are just
It's stupid.
humiliating
We're going to cut all this
back
stuff.
to the issue.
We'll cut all this stuff out. So there's no point.
Why?
What the heck is happening here?
Leave it. People
It's
should see
uncensored,
what he
uncensored.
represents.
There's no
It is
point
uncensored.
abusing each other personally.
No,
Okay, Piers.
I want to stick to the debate.
Let's get to the debate.
You don't want to do it? Well, end the debate.
Let's get to the debate.
Right, let me ask Mohammed a question. Right, I don't.
And this is exactly right, V Radio. The point about World War II copper bombing was valid. Problem is Hamas think that their dead civilians go straight to heaven as martyrs and heroes. Yep. I saw a video the other day of a woman who was screaming with joy that her husband became a martyr. I mean, this is a concept that's so foreign to Western thinking. Imagine an American exulting in joy that her spouse just got killed and went to heaven. We can't wrap our heads around this. This is just not what? I don't know about that, but I'm just saying, like, yeah, I mean, unless he's an abusive spouse, we can't wrap our heads around that.
I don't disagree with you that so far it seems to me, obviously, a fact that many, many more Palestinian civilians, innocent people, are getting killed as retribution by the Israelis for what happened on October the 7th. That's indisputable, right? Their argument is that they're going after a terror organization, Hamas, and unfortunately in war, as Rabbi Shmuley correctly said about what Churchill did in World War II.
Churchill was wrong.
A lot of
Churchill was wrong.
Was he a war criminal?
Yes, he was.
All
Yes, he
right.
was.
Churchill was a war
Yes, he
criminal.
was. Churchill was a war
Were all
criminal.
the British
Let me
people
do
who
the
lived there
Churchill was a
were
war
criminals?
criminal.
Okay.
Yes,
Let
he
me
was.
do
And
the
George
question.
VI
Was a war criminal. This is the mindset. Churchill was a war criminal. Okay. You know what? By the mindset that Churchill was a war criminal, Israel's totally wrong. If that's your mindset, then yes, there's no convincing you that any sort of evil ever needs to be eradicated.
was George VI a war
All of them
criminal?
were criminals.
George VI
Nagasaki,
war
all of them.
criminal.
Yes, of
So
course.
anyone that,
his
hang on,
Yes,
Rabbi
war
Shmuley.
criminal. War
Let me ask.
criminal.
So let me get this straight.
Absolutely.
You think
Collective punishment.
You think Winston Churchill
Was a war criminal.
in,
Yes.
in standing up to the Nazis
By killing the
who killed
babies.
12 million people,
I believe he was a war
that
criminal.
by doing what he did was a war criminal?
By killing in Dresden and Hamburg.
It's-
By the indiscriminate killing. Collective punishment. My morality says that's impossible.
Okay, that means the British.
That's not what your morality says. I don't even think he really believes that. This sounds. You see, this is the level of extremism. Yeah, Churchill was a war criminal.
People who
That's
supported
impossible.
him
Can't
and
kill
voted him
children.
in. They were
My
also.
morality says that's
just a second.
impossible.
Just a second.
That's what I
But the
believe,
British
yes.
people.
Yeah.
You believe he was a war criminal?
Yes.
So therefore, your belief is that no retaliatory.
Oh my gosh! Oh, I hope he does become an ambassador for Hamas. They say Churchill's a war criminal. That's great. That is great.
action
No,
by
you can
any-
retaliate to the man, not to the babies.
Tell me a war in history
Yes.
where civilians haven't been killed.
No, I'm not saying civilians haven't been killed. It's about
Just
this ratio.
war or
It's about the
otherwise?
ratio. It's
No,
about the
no.
ratio.
What is the ratio?
What about the
What's the
ratio?
100 to 1 is unacceptable.
Actually,
What is the
morally,
ra- what
100
is-
to 1 is
what is-
actually,
unacceptable.
morally,
100 to 1 accept.
okay, well,
100 to 1 is an
100 to 1
hang
invention.
on, Rabbi Shmuley. So let me give you a ratio.
I don't think it's 100 to 1 either. I think that's ridiculous. I think 100 to 1 is like a ridiculous number. I'm positive it's definitely not exactly 100 to 1. And if it was more than 100 to 1, now it could be 60 to 1. I don't know. But I'm sure 100 to 1 is a gross exaggeration.
Ratio.
Yeah.
How many people did the Nazis kill?
I don't know.
You don't
12
know.
million.
how
We
the
know,
Nazis
we
killed?
know they killed 6 million
They
people.
killed 12 million people.
I don't know. We don't know.
including
exactly.
6 million Jews.
Sure,
Right?
sure.
So
12 million
how many died in
non-combatants.
how many died in Dresden? How many civilians died in Germany? Do you know?
I don't know exactly.
Right, so you don't actually know what you're talking about.
I do know what I'm talking about because
You
I know
called
in
Churchill-
Dresden and Hamburg.
You said
if
it's
he's
about you. Unless I'm wrong.
Yeah, go ahead.
Unless I'm wrong.
Yeah, go
You
ahead.
said it's to do with the
Ratios.
ratio.
Yes.
You don't know the ratios. When
No,
you
no,
call,
I know for a fact.
when you
Dresden
call
and
Winston Churchill.
What are the numbers?
Dresden and Hamburg.
What are the
When you-
numbers?
Dresden-
I don't understand how the ratios that's such a warped way of looking at what is morality. But by that perspective, by this perspective that as long as the ratios are equal, then it's moral. In that case, if you have 700 million people who hate 300 million people, it's perfectly acceptable for the 700 million people to send in 300 million of their own to get slaughtered, killing and wiping out the other 300 million. That's essentially what he's arguing here. That's essentially what he's arguing. It's the stupidest thing in the world. There's no morality to it. There's no logic to it. It's a twisted morality that's meant for simpleton minds. That's like, oh, that would make it moral. Every attempt to make war easy and safe will result in humiliation and disaster. General Sherman. Seems that Israel could take this advice, maybe. I'm going to tell you this. What you're saying is something that a lot of people have said. They're being punished for being merciful. And the longer this war goes on, the less it's going to be, because they're trying to be so careful in killing as few Arabs as possible, as few innocents as possible, and the more hate that they'll feel because of it. This is the classic example of engaging in a thankless task. You're earning venom because of your kindness. That doesn't mean you shouldn't be kind. That doesn't mean morality doesn't mean you should. That doesn't mean that morality doesn't dictate that you should try to be kind wherever possible. But you basically I think it's a form of heroism to try and remain merciful rather than just blindly killing to make it go quicker. But it's part of that heroism is that you will be painted as a villain because of the length of time it takes to get it done. Look up tomorrow's Pioneer Youth Training. So sad. Tomorrow's Pioneer. What's tomorrow? Tomorrow's is that gonna be like 3-year-olds in military gear? I've seen that. Oh yeah, this. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen this.
Tomorrow's pioneers. Or should I say, more like tomorrow's
Tomorrow's Pioneers is basically like a kids show where they basically talk about how we kill Jews with Mickey Mouse. That's what it is. Americans absolutely revere our dead martyrs. Nathan Hale celebrates saying, "My only regret is that I have one life to give for my country." You know what? We do when they're individuals, not nameless. Like you, and I'm not saying that a martyr shouldn't be revered, but do you think that Mrs. Hale was celebrating that her husband was killed? It's not that she's celebrating his victory. She's celebrating his death. I don't think Nathan Hale's widow was exulting that he was hanged. That's my point. Of all the people, Shmuel Boteach, oh Lord, yeah. Kavel says, I don't get how World War II or the people who took this has anything to do with the Israel-Palestine conflict. Hard to prove anyone was a war criminal before the Geneva Convention was established, which was after World War II. That's a great point. But I don't think that even if it had been, I think if the Geneva Convention was signed off 100 years earlier, that they did anything wrong.
Wait a minute, Rabbi Shmuley. When you call Winston Churchill a criminal,
I believe
you're
war
basing
criminal.
it on ratios you don't even know what they are.
No, I know. There's difference of opinion among the scholars.
No, there isn't.
There is difference.
Tell us the opinions. What are they? Tell us what they are.
Hold on. There's
How many in Dresden?
Excuse me. Stop speaking.
How many in Dresden?
Am I speaking to him or
How
you?
many in Dresden?
Whatever the number.
Let him answer.
I'm against it.
Let him answer. Jeepers.
No, he doesn't.
That's my
Rabbi
right.
Shmuley, you respond.
Dresden's about 25,000. And at the time, the Germans were saying 250,000. We know it's about 25,000 today. Let me be clear. Winston Churchill was the greatest statesman of the 20th century. He saved the world from
I agree.
Nazi terror.
Yeah.
That you could live in a country that is only around today because of the bravery of that man showing no gratitude is the height of
Stick on topic.
And to call all the British people who defeated the Nazis,
Stick on topic. It is on topic because they're analyzing your philosophy here and how ridiculous it is. And you showed the links that you go to in supporting this philosophy when you called Churchill a war criminal.
Interrupting me. Defeated the Nazis, war criminals, his parents, all the other people, war criminals.
Such a child. Off topic. I think he realizes what a stupid statement it was to call Churchill a war criminal. So he's like, stop talking about this. It's like Cenk Uygur arguing here.
It's wrong. No. Let me be clear. Let me be clear. Mohammed Hijab trades in falsehoods.
And I know I'm late in starting over locals. I'm supposed to be cutting this off and going to locals, and I definitely plan on doing that. And I am late in transitioning over there. I definitely plan on watching the rest of the. I'm gonna be stopping this. I ran a little longer because I saw that Nick wasn't streaming, so I was like, all right, it's not like. So I figure I'll sort of give people an opportunity here. I am gonna be transitioning over to locals. Probably when I hit like the 30-minute mark. I'm at 22 right here. So for like the second half of this, I plan on doing that on locals.
300 to 1? What are you talking about?
100 to 1.
And now he says the Jews are about to kill 3 million Palestinians.
I didn't say they're about to. I said
the fact that this man considers himself an Oxford academic. I was a rabbi at Oxford University for 11 years. This is a travesty.
Did you graduate from there?
This is a travesty.
Let me ask you a question, Rabbi.
Did you graduate from any university?
I have a rabbinical.
Did you graduate?
Let me answer.
You excommunicated.
Let me answer.
I swear you excommunicated.
I am a rabbinical.
Honestly,
can I speak?
This is pointless.
Go on.
Rabbi Shmuley, is there a limit to the number of civilians in Gaza that Israel can kill to try and eliminate
a good question.
Hamas?
That's a great question.
Yes, there is.
Thank you, but let me ask you.
Not even one. Not one beautiful Palestinian child should have to die because Hamas kicked out Mahmoud Abbas.
That wasn't my question.
And not one should have to die. What the answer to your question is that Hamas, if they surrender unconditionally, then
Which they're not
all of
gonna
that.
do.
Okay, fine.
But is there a limit?
Then let them allow all the civilians.
Is there a limit?
Israel said that all the civilians can leave. All the civilians should go south.
I think it's funny he keeps holding those pictures and they blurred the pictures out. And I'm so glad I did, because YouTube would have yeeted my channel if he kept holding up whatever gory pictures he's holding up there. I think it's funny that he's trying to win the argument. I'm holding the pictures, and like no one can see it.
Beg them, and that's something that militaries never do. Churchill did not tell the people.
I'm not laughing at the victims. I'm laughing at how he's trying to use this tactic of using pictures to sort of put framing or to as a way of interjecting. But I do wish he get to an answer. Get to an answer. They asked you a question. Is there a limit to how many Palestinians is too many?
People in Dresden, come on, and you
No,
see, you came with all your notes.
We get the point.
I'm not here.
We get the point, Mohammed. I get the point.
This is
I get
all.
the point.
This is all proof that he can't debate me.
member-
So he has to use these images. Debate me. We didn't ask you to come on with all your exhibits.
Rabbi Shmuley, let me ask you a question. A member of the cabinet in Israel was actually quoted as saying that nuclear weapons were an option that Israel could use. No one's ever.
That sounds insane. The whole nuclear option sounds insane to me. I don't even understand. Just forget about the morality of it, which to me, it doesn't sound very moral. Forget about the morality of it. I think tactically, I don't even understand how they would do that without harming their own civilians. I mean, you get a bad wind, and it's like it's like Israel's a small country. I don't understand. I don't understand that at all. At all. World War II and war crimes stupid argument. There's ethics in combat amount of time period. Dresden is brought up because military targets civilians. So that, which is yeah. Hold on. So of course, there's left academics that call Churchill white colonizer, war criminal. Lots of debate on that one. Oh yeah, tons of debate. Everyone wants to know. The Churchill topic was brought because he knew he would react. They are in Britain. It's manipulation. Yeah. I think it was a wise move. It was a wise move because he's so universally revered in Britain. That's the perfect place to bring that up. And Hijab walked right into it.
Confirmed Israel has nuclear weapons. It's long been suspected. That seemed pretty clear confirmation.
Why are you against nuclear weapons?
Hang on.
If you're not against Dresden, why are you against nuclear weapons?
Let me ask the question.
No, but why are you against it?
I've done this before, this job. Let me do it.
Go on.
Okay? So when that guy says that, if you're living as an innocent civilian in Gaza, what the hell are you thinking? That an Israeli government member threatens the use of a nuclear weapon, which would obliterate pretty much all of Gaza and everyone in it.
Absolutely.
Thank you for the question. If that were true, why hasn't Israel used nuclear weapons against Nasser when he invaded?
It's true.
Well, hold on.
It's true this guy threatened
it. And the answer is no. I know the guy, and I spoke to him about it. His name is Amichai Eliyahu. Israel has never carpet bombed any Arab.
Let him answer. He's answering the question. Oh my gosh.
Hang on, Mohammed.
1967
Ever. Now.
1967 was preemptive.
He was asked a question by a provocative interview, and he said, well, if you're going to bomb the same thing, it was like it was a Mohammed Hijab type. You want to kill all the Arabs, 3 million people, just drop a bomb. He said, well, if you want to drop a bomb, drop a bomb. He was being dismissive and stupid, and he put out a statement the next day saying that never in history would the Jews ever even contemplate doing that. Let's remember one thing.
Oh, so you're saying that the statement is taken out of context, and that it wasn't a threat that he's looking to threaten. It was basically taken away. They twist Trump's words. Okay, I didn't see it. I didn't see the quote myself. I'm relieved. I'm relieved that no one in the Israeli government is genuinely contemplating that as an option. I'm very, very relieved.
The only place in
the Middle
East, one second, Piers. The only place in the Middle East where Arabs have any freedoms, Israel. The only place where they vote openly, Israel. The only place where Palestinian women can dress the way they want, Israel. And let's be clear, when Mohammed Hijab gets up and says that we Palestinians want to be a religion.
I keep calling him Hijab, but it's Hijab. I apologize. I'm not looking to mispronounce his name.
Of death. You know, I just got a haircut coming here by an Arab barber here in London, and he said to me, I hope you defeat this guy because he doesn't represent us. We want to live. We want to have good lives. We want to be religious. We want to eat halal. But we don't want to die for martyrdom. You are not a Muslim. You're an Islamist. You're an Islamist.
Mohammed.
Well, that's an interesting term, an Islamist versus a Muslim. Is that like a leftist versus a liberal? I've never heard the term Islamist before. No, there was no threat to use nuclear. I'm relieved. I'm relieved.
Let me ask Mohammed a question. Let me ask Mohammed a
Good for your
question.
health.
Hamas has 240.
Welcome, Shizzy Wiznut.
my debate last week.
Stop.
Hamas has 240 hostages they took, including babies,
Sure.
young kids,
Sure.
grandmothers who survived the Holocaust.
Yeah.
I mean, an
Absolutely.
unspeakable further criminal
Yeah.
act. We can agree, right?
Of course.
Why should Israel agree to any ceasefire so long as those hostages are still being kept hostage?
Look, my position is very clear. They should fight man to man on the
They are.
ground. On the ground.
Well, they are.
That fighting.
That's exactly what they're doing.
How? What the hell is that? Oh, so they should walk into like booby traps in like an area that is like they should just like go into the most lethal type of fighting environment possible. That's what they should do.
That fighting, no one can. This is
Muhammad, that's exactly what they're doing.
I know.
Man to man, they took
Let me-
hostages.
excuse me.
They took babies as hostages.
Yeah, so when Hamas comes out there marching in, in unified formation rather than guerrilla warfare is not man to man. And guerrilla warfare, where you're hiding behind a child, is the opposite of man to man.
He's asking me the question.
Let him
They
answer
took
the question.
infants as hostages.
Let him answer the question.
You're getting excited here. I know it's your sexual.
This guy, I think Hijab is doing poorly here. He's trying to come onto the whole side topic.
Blind, you're the sex
No, no,
rabbi.
no, leave it.
Now you're back
With
to
the sex
my
rabbi.
sex
Leave
life.
it.
You're getting
please.
overexcited.
Leave
Get
it,
your
please.
head-
See, this is childish. That's getting childish there. Look at this. Good versus evil. Hamas isn't some generic boogeyman. They planned it, they filmed it, they did it. They'll do it again. This isn't like our response to 9/11 Ukraine, as Candace likens it. I had to say hummus as ham was blocked by YouTube. Unbelievable. They really? That's blocked by YouTube? Really? So stupid. Maybe that's why my streams when I cover this go yellow. Thank you for the generous super chat, Ben George. I appreciate it.
Get out of my
Mohammed.
bedroom, Muhammad.
Next
It's
to the
really
topic.
beneath you.
He's getting excited with me.
Let me ask the
disgusting,
questions.
honestly.
You guys answer them. Mohammed,
It's childish. See, this guy Hijab is getting very childish now.
answer my question. Why, if you're Israel,
Yeah,
would you ever agree to a ceasefire if those hostages aren't released?
I'm telling you what my position is. My position is man-to-man combat.
Which is what they're doing now.
No, that part of it is understandable. Do you understand?
That's what they're doing.
No problem. But what I think is not understandable, what is not acceptable, because you said, what's the proportionate response? That's the question you keep asking everybody. My answer to you is a proportionate response is one where in which the ratios are not 100 to 1 on the.
Why? Why is that? Why would that make it not proportional?
Invention.
Excuse me, please.
Where does that come from?
I'll
What's
tell
the
you what.
source?
Okay,
Tell me the
excellent.
source. Tell me the source.
IDF.
The
I got the
IDF.
time.
Yeah, sure.
No, where's the IDF? What does that mean? Yeah, my source for saying that it's 6-1 Hamas is Hamas. That's my source. That's my source. What's my source? That's my source.
Tell me
got the
when.
time.
When did they say it?
They said,
I know all the IDF
No, no, you
spokespersons.
don't.
I
I
know
know it.
Jonathan
Daniel
Conricus. Daniel Hagari said what? When?
Okay, so let me
Say,
explain.
no.
If you send me something on Twitter, I can send you the code. Send me something on Twitter, and when I go over there, I'll send you the code. Okay? Never like this. What is it? More questions. It's not sesame, right? It's poppy. It's hummus. No, it's chickpeas. Hummus chickpeas. That's what it is. Joe, can you fairly explain Jewish versus Muslim beliefs? Al regel achas, while standing on one foot. The difference, Jewish versus Muslim beliefs. There's a ton of overlap. There's a ton of overlap between Jewish and Muslim beliefs. A ton of overlap. A lot of overlap. As much, there's more overlap than there is between Jewish and I think more overlap probably than Jewish and Christian beliefs. For example, like the whole thing about how we eat meat, or a requirement of circumcision. These are things that they retained from their forebear, who was Ishmael. But the concept of monotheism. There's a lot of overlap. Most of the stuff that the violent elements and the concept of there being an aspiration to die for your to convert and change everyone over to your religion is one distinction that Islam has that that Judaism does not have. Our objective is not for anyone to become Jewish. We actually believe that non-Jews can go to heaven, and that there are tons of non-Jews in heaven. Whereas in Islam, I believe they think that you have to be a practicing Muslim. There are certain violence elements that Muhammad incorporated. That, I mean, he was a bit of a warlord. That's just kind of the nature. I think Muslims recognize that. And all the prophets and stuff like that, he's not regarded as a prophet to Jews. So those are key distinctions right there. Hummus means violence, is ancient Hamas. Okay. The word Hamas in Hebrew. There's hummus, which is food. It's a kind of pasty type of thing that's from ground up chickpeas and oil and different seasoning. And then there's the word Hamas, which is it's not really it's a type of thievery. It's which we believe was the main sin from the antediluvians, which made them merit obliteration from God in the time of Noah. Proportionality in war has nothing to do with ratios. Death is about balancing military need with harm to civilians. There's no such thing as proportionality in war. That's something that today's college kids can't get their heads around. But there is none. There's no such thing.
Excuse me.
When did he say we're killing Palestinians 100 to 1?
10 days ago, and it's mentioned on a website. I'll tell you
The truth is, they don't.
He never said this is pure fabrication.
Let me finish. You asked me the
Which
source.
website?
Stop screaming.
You asked me the source.
Which website?
You asked me the source.
Al Jazeera?
No.
Is it Al Jazeera?
You've asked me a question, right?
Okay.
Are you scared to hear the response?
Go ahead.
Okay, the response is as follows. The Guardian has reported that the IDF have said that in terms of the numbers of Hamas that have been killed, I'm answering this question.
I know.
The Hamas that have been killed, they say, quote unquote, dozens. Now listen.
Hamas or civilians? You said civilians.
No,
wait a minute.
You said civilians.
Wait a
Well,
minute.
I'm telling you where I got the 100 to 1 ratio.
Muhammad.
100 to 1 ratio comes from
The numbers have
There's
dramatically.
10,000 civilians.
I want to hear the rest of it.
60. It's actually more than
You
100 to
said
1.
that you call him out on anything. He has no sources. He has
No one can hear what
primary
you're
sources.
saying.
Okay.
Let me respond to him.
So you're basically believing Hamas's numbers as to how many Arabs have been killed, which we have no way of verifying. No one has any way of verifying that. And that's how he came up with it. And now he's claiming that that's an IDF source. He basically said what was an IDF source that he heard from the IDF ultimately comes back to, well, we know how many dead Arabs there are because that's what Hamas told us. Neither eat bacon. That's very suspicious to me. That's true. We don't touch the pig. Neither Jews nor Muslims. Christians and Jews scoffed at Muhammad as a prophet, so he went full ham on all non-believers and wrote it into the Quran. That could be. Yeah, he was definitely not. Christians and Muslims did not really accept it. Yeah. That sounds accurate, Ben.
This is a blood libel,
Let me respond.
Piers. The Jews have a right to respond to a blood
question
libel.
him.
It's a blood libel.
Here's the reality. I read that report. That was about at least 2 weeks ago, right?
10 days ago.
The numbers have changed a lot.
Yes, they have.
Israel now believe they've killed a lot more Hamas. They don't know exactly how many, because actually, how do you tell on the ground
By the way, Piers,
to the Hamas fighter and a member of the general population?
Do you know, according to the IDF, and we've done a study on the...
And this is that's Piers is touching on an interesting question. Like, how do you know how many of them really are Hamas? And by the way, some of them are children. I'm sure some people in Hamas are children. By Western standards, we consider 16-year-olds children. I'm sure that some of them are probably children because they get indoctrinated from the time they're young. In case you missed this thing here. Where is it?
If you've been on a certain side of the internet, you've probably seen memes about this weird Mickey Mouse-esque character in some weird Middle East distant elements of the
Stop talking.
What you did.
back in the day. It was like 2 years ago, but still, Ford goes and meets his grandfather, who seems to be just a
Sorry, I was just trying to pick up like some sort of like 30 seconds of like one of these shows, but it's called the creepiest show ever, Tomorrow's Pioneers, where you see they have this Mickey Mouse character there, I wish this guy would just stop talking and let it play. And I haven't watched this video. I just sort of pulled this up now. I'm just going to get this.
Well, I just went to your channel.
Say to build a.
Thinking back, I'm like,
Sorry. I'm trying to find like something that would just give like a 90-second clip. There we go. Here's a 60-second clip. Look at this. Look at this. It's crazy.
بإذن الله تعالى سنعمر بالإسلام الخير.
It's unbelievable.
والعدل.
It's crazy.
التاريخ واسألوا اليهود هل عاشوا بفترة من الفترات خير مما عاشوه في الإسلام؟ واسألوا النصارى كيف أمنوا في كنائسهم وفي صومعاتهم. كنا يوما أتذكرون الأندلس؟ بهذا الأندلس الحبيبة ستعود يوما.
Anyway, every episode, based from what I've been told, or most of them, basically are fixating on how every problem in the world was brought to you by the Jews. The Jews. It's crazy, crazy. That's tomorrow's pioneers. All right, let me see where I'm at here. Am I at 30 minutes yet?
The name that they put on X.
I'm close enough. I'm going to be going over to locals. I think it's time for me to switch over to locals. Dave Smith, Clinton Russell were great on Timcast tonight. Oh, cool. Under Islam. Oh, Clint, is that Liberty Lockdown? Yeah, I'm at 20. If you see here, I'm at 29 minutes. All right. Yeah, I think it's time for me to go. I think it's time for me to go over there. What age do you have bar mitzvah? Oh, we usually put a V instead of, it's two words after bar and mitzvah. Muslims have the same thing, and they normally get their first rifle as a boy, which is when they're considered an adult and can join the radical factions. 13. 13 is when we. I think Muslims might be 14. I'm not sure. I don't think it's 13, but it could be. It could be. And the reason I think it could be is because Ishmael was 13. When was he 13 or 14? And he was 13 when he got circumcised. So, and they all recognize that he is their forebear. And we agree. We agree that he is the forebear of Muslims. So, yeah. Yeah, they consider adulthood much younger. And it's sort of like, it's a funny thing that like when they're talking to the West, they call them children, but they certainly don't regard a 16-year-old as a child. That's for sure. That's for sure. Anyhow, okay. So I am now going to switch over to locals. First, I'm going to make sure I didn't miss any of you here on. Oh my gosh, I missed a big one here. Crispy leg. I'm so sorry. Say, I would move the people out of their neighborhood, knock down every building more than 1 story tall, and replace them with FEMA trailers and move them back into their neighborhood. That is great. That is great. That's really funny. That's really funny. That's really funny. I really like that. All right. So I'm going to switch over to locals. I'm going to open that. I'm going to jump in there in like 5 minutes. The link is in the description below. You might not see it there. I'm going to put it in chat. So you'll have it there in Rumble. It's going into Rumble chat right now. A clickable link right there. So we're going to be continuing this and finishing up this thing. And I'm also going to put it in. I'm going to put it in my whatchamacallit. I'm going to put it here also. It has a mobile app. Let me pin this here. Pin message. That's your link. It's free to join there. I'm probably going to turn it into members only at a certain point. If you can't afford it, if you cannot afford it, I will give you a link for free. For free. I just need to start building over there. Building. Because one day YouTube is going to be mean to me. They're going to be mean and they're going to say, we don't like you so much. So it's the paying members is all of $5 a month. And I recognize that for some people, that's way too much. They can't afford it. And those people, I just say, hey, drop me a link at the following pro on Twitter. You can do it in locals, and I will hook you up for free. For free. Not looking to take your money. Just a way to encourage those who can't afford it to kick in. To kick in. That's basically the goal. That's the goal. Joe Portionelli is a principal in LOAC and derives back to St. Augustine with just war doctrine, where this guy misrepresents is saying it's equal forces instead of risk to harm innocence. Huh. What is LOAC in this context? LOAC. Oh, international humanitarian law? Is that what you meant? International. Oh, law of armed conflict. Okay. All right. I am going to let me shut this down over here, and I'm going to continue this up over on locals. I hope to see you over there. And I thank you for joining me tomorrow. I'm going to be on both Legal Vices and on Layback News with Eric Hunley. If you don't catch me there or anywhere else and can't make it over to locals, I totally understand. Still love and respect y'all and urge you to have a phenomenal weekend. But this is the end of my YouTube/Rumble show. And I urge you all to head on over to locals. I'm going to start that up in 3 minutes. I'm going to grab a drink and start that up in 3 minutes. So see you all there. Everyone else, be happy, eat some bugs, and Godspeed.